Hey, this is Dave Pryor. Welcome to Agile 2019. Here in the Leading Agile booth, we're doing interviews all week long with speakers, thought leaders, and folks from Leading Agile about what's happening here at the conference and what's happening in Agile in general. And right now, our Chief Cultural Officer, Rachel Howard, has joined me. And we're going to talk about culture and how you create a culture that supports agility, but also lets people thrive.
Yes.
And that is something you spent a lot of time on
at
Leading Agile. So can you talk about how that's evolved?
Oh, absolutely. So when I was hired, Leading Agile was probably about 20 people. And we got to a point where we realized we had to be very deliberate about how do we engage with our people, how do we take care of them, how do we keep them connected. We are virtual organizations, and I know a lot of companies are going that route, so hopefully this is relevant to people that are watching. But when you are virtual, I think it's even more important that you are taking steps to make sure that people feel like they're part of something and they're part of a community. It's very easy to feel isolated. So I had to really think about, well, what does that mean? And I think the first thing you need to define is like, well, what's important to us? What does culture mean to Leading Agile? Because you can't really be deliberate about it if you don't understand what it is that's important to you. So.
It's important to us that we're on mic too. So
get closer. Okay, try. There we go.
So how would you define the culture? I mean, you guys went through this process.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is the vision behind the culture?
Yes. So, one of the things I think it's important to, make the differentiation of is that a lot of people think of culture, and I think they think of like, do you have beer kegs at work, and is everyone foosball table and beanbag chairs and things like that may be a byproduct of a certain culture. But to me, culture is, what do you believe? What are your values? What are you passionate about? Is there that common vision with the people that are within the organization? So we had to think about the things that were important to us. And the top things that we talk about all the time are honesty and transparency, passion. We have a lot of people who are just extremely passionate about Leading Agile and our point of view. And, how do you connect all those things, especially with a distributed organization like ours, where we have people all over the company, or all over the country?
And how do you help them help each other grow?
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
How can you support the people that you're working with when you're not even at the same client or in the same state as them?
So how do we do that? Or how have you guys planned to do that?
Yeah. Well, we've created a lot of different avenues of connection.
Okay.
So we have our operations and intelligence call, which I think has been huge to be able to bring at least the transparency part to the organization and the honesty.
Okay.
So 3 times a week as an organization, we pretty much have invited the company into our executive stand-up. So the place where we talk about the things that are important to us as we grow the organization, our financials, our sales, what's going on in our operations, recruiting, marketing, everything. We pretty much open up our financials once a month so people understand like how are we doing as an organization financially. Yeah. We do account reviews so people can hear what's going on at the different accounts. And that creates a good, so people understand what's going on at Leading Agile, but they also can empathize when they hear about problems and successes at other accounts, because a lot of times it can be very similar.
And maybe offer each other assistance when they can.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And by also incorporating things like Slack, we have a very active Slack community.
Right.
People tend to self-organize and then can find those people that they like, oh, I'm going to ask that person for help because they just went through a project that had a similar problem. Yeah. Or they're interested in the same thing as me, so I'm going to connect with them even though I've never met them in person or I'm 3 states away from them, but they're making those connections regardless.
Yeah. And one of the things that for me that was kind of interesting when I started, we had all these different ways of connecting electronically, and that's been a really big deal because we're all distributed.
Yeah.
And I'm not somebody who gravitates towards those tools. So it's like, oh God, I got to go look at Slack. I got to look at Yammer. I got to look at this other stuff. And then another person at the company explained to me that they're just options. You pick the options that are right for you.
Yes.
So that level of flexibility, I was like, okay, so I don't have to do everything.
Right.
And I don't have to dial in for the O&I call because
we record it.
Right. And I can listen to it at my leisure. Mm-hmm. So there's lots of options for people staying in touch with that. And that transparency is a really big deal.
Yeah.
For me, one of the most remarkable things since I've been here was that there was the point where the salary bands were shared.
Yes.
And I was like, holy crap, I would never do that.
Yeah.
And I'm not even sure I want to know that, but the message that it sends is this level of openness, which is rare, I think. and obviously very deliberate.
Right.
How do people respond to that? I mean, what kind of feedback do you get on that?
Mostly it's positive.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes people see information that's not always what they want to see, maybe it is, but having that honesty and having that transparency, it's like you'd rather know. You want to know what you're up against. You want to know what the challenges are. You want to know,
good or bad.
Good or bad, but at least you know. Where I think a lot of companies feel that they have to keep people in the dark. They have to protect those types of things. And then all you're doing is people are speculating, and people are usually going to speculate negatively.
Bad stuff, yeah.
So you might as well just lay it out and then let's just talk about it.
Okay.
Which is the other thing that I think is really powerful about our culture is we have one where it's safe to speak the truth. It's safe to say, this is my opinion, or I'm not happy right now, and this is why. And we're going to have a dialogue about it. And you're not going to get fired, and you're not going to get, no one's going to be mad at you for having an opinion that might be different from your own. It's just,
You share what you got.
You just share what you got.
Okay. So one of the things that Mike talked about when we were doing the interview earlier was we're trying to grow, we're trying to hire more people. And I think he said it was like 2% people get all the way through the system.
Oh, it is something crazy.
So I know that our hiring process is pretty complicated.
Yeah, it is.
Can you kind of, for the folks that might want to interview with Leading Agile, could you kind of walk through all the different steps they have to go through?
Sure. So we have multiple steps. First of all, it starts with the cultural interview. So either myself or someone from my team is going to talk to you about, what are you passionate about? It's not even like we saw your resume. We know what your background is. So what are you passionate about? Are you humble? That's a very big part of what we screen for.
That's what I was going to ask you about.
Yeah, it's huge. We took a lot from Patrick Lencioni's How to Hire the Ideal Team Player. And if you haven't read it, I strongly suggest that you do. It's a really great book and it's an easy read. But he talks about hunger, humility, and emotional intelligence. And that's pretty much what we're looking for. Is it we're a small company and we're growing, so you have to be hungry. Like, you have to have a fire in your belly and believe in what we believe. Are you humble? We hire the smartest people in the room, but we want people who they don't want to be the smartest person in the room. They get excited by being around other smart people. And then you have to have a certain emotional intelligence. We're consultants. You have to be self-aware. You have to be situationally aware. So we try to incorporate things into our interview that are going to ferret that out.
So that you can surface things like, is this the kind of coach that walks in and says, look, this is how you got to do it. It's my way or you're going to fail.
Right. Because that's just not going to fly.
Yeah.
And one thing we do consistently through the whole process, every person that talks for them kind of does what we call the airport test.
Okay.
Would I want to shoot myself if I sat next to this person for 12 hours trapped in an airport? And it's real, but that's what we do. And because we've kind of been deliberate about defining kind of what we feel like is to be a leading Agile person, we have created this culture that's really powerful. Our people are very smart. They're super passionate. They're diverse. We're not hiring just one type of person.
Right.
But they genuinely just enjoy being around each other.
Okay.
They enjoy collaborating. They enjoy, talking about what's going on. They enjoy going out to dinner with each other. They just genuinely enjoy each other as people. And I think that just makes, you're at work for so long, like that just makes it a little bit better.
Yeah, and there's respect for each other and people's different needs and ways of doing
Yes,
things.
respect is a huge part of our culture.
Okay.
Yeah.
The humility thing is actually kind of where I wanted to go next, because that is surprising to me, and sometimes in a strange way. We have a lot of really smart people here.
Yeah.
And even things like getting them to do podcasts, sometimes it's like,
pulling teeth.
Yeah, they're like, what do I have to offer? I'm like, you're freaking smart. Come sit down and talk to me.
Yeah.
But other places I've been, people can't get out of their own way to show you how smart they are and to make sure you know that they're so smart.
Right.
We don't really have that. We just have a lot of smart people.
Yeah, we just have a lot of smart people.
And being surrounded by that, at least for me, it makes me want to raise my game a little bit.
Yes.
So
I constantly feel that way.
so they go through this initial interview steps, and then there's the testing that has to
Yes. Then we have a battery of assessments that we have them take. And I think when someone initially starts it can seem kind of arbitrary or even exhausting, because we do have a few, but there's a lot of science and there's been a lot of just research that's gone into to these. Like they all layer on each other. So we have one that assesses natural like behaviors and tendencies.
Okay.
We have one that assesses motivations for those behaviors and tendencies.
Okay.
And that's really more about, if someone is, motivated by like emotions and feelings, they're probably going to do well in a coach role, but they might not do as well in a delivery role where we need someone who might be more outcome focused and they will profile a different way. So let's put that person in a delivery role. So we're looking at all those things. It's just layers. And we have an emotional intelligence assessment, which I think is highly important for consultants. You have to have a very high emotional intelligence. Like I said, you have to have that situational awareness, that self-awareness. You have to have a healthy confidence, not arrogant,
right?
But courage, a conviction that you have a strong point of view. You can speak it because we're in there to fix problems. They're looking for us for the answers, so you can't subordinate yourself to the client.
Okay.
And then we have an IQ assessment that we do too, just general intelligence that layers it on.
So they pass all these tests. Yeah. And then
they go through the actual like screening. We do our first interview is really based on like Agile skills. It's just kind of a basic, what have your experiences been, and do you have the foundation to be successful in the work that we do? Okay. The second interview we do is more about approach. Okay. So it's more about how did you go about leading the transformation? What was your role? How do you go about affecting change? Talking about more change management or organizational development, design, that type of stuff. And then the final interview, we tend to do either in person or at the very least Skype. Okay. And it's really more, again, to reinforce that airport test, to kind of see people's body language. A lot can be revealed in a personal interview. Someone might be very confident over the phone, and then you get them face to face, and it's a completely different person. Yeah, and you just can't have that at the client site. Yeah. So. Okay. So, yeah.
So they go through that, they pass all these, and then they get the offer?
If they've passed all of that, yes.
Yeah, okay. And then when they join, so one of the things that's happened to me at other companies when I started to work is I get hired as a coach or whatever. Right. And first day, here's where you're going to be, here's your credit card, get off the plane, go to the client, go to the transformation. Yeah. And everybody's got different ways of coaching transformation. Right. Except for us, we have a very specific approach. Yeah. So what are the steps that are taken to get people up to speed on being able to enter a workspace and deliver on the Leading Agile approach?
So we have a pretty intensive month-long onboarding process, which we're actually looking to expand to 100 days. Oh, we're not there yet. That's aspirational. But right now, we have a month-long onboarding process, which starts with every week you get a video that's sent its content that Mike has created that is talking about some piece of who we are as a company and what our approach is. Okay. We follow that up with every Monday. You then have a call Monday night to discuss that. And it's very open, and it's very, everybody can have turn to ask questions, and everyone's really patient, but we really want you to feel comfortable with the content that you've watched and that makes sense to you, and you understand how to put it into your own, your own
language, which is important.
It was huge.
When Mike explains things, like
that's Mike's language.
Because when I started, before we had this, there were some videos that I would have to watch like 3 times to like really get it. Right. But I didn't have anybody to talk to about it.
Exactly. So we're providing that, to make sure that you really understand what we're putting in front of you. Yeah. And then throughout the week, we'll give them drips of other things, short little check-ins, homework. That we'll discuss. And then on Friday, we do a retrospective on all the material from that week and what went right, what went wrong, did they digest it? And so that goes on for 4 weeks.
And they could be working on site during this time.
Oh, they're absolutely.
But with somebody else.
This is pretty much off hours for the most part. Okay. Our Friday one is during the day, but our people work from home on Fridays. So it makes it easier. Okay. Ideally, so that goes on for 4 weeks, and that, it's not a complete, it's not exactly where we'd want it to be, but you're not completely going in blind. You have, that network, and we've also provided you through those 4 weeks the resources of where to go to find out that information, who to talk to, how do you take that to the next step once this is done, so that you can continue learning. So,
And even if they're on site, it's always with somebody else who already gets this stuff.
yes,
Okay.
yes. I mean, we're not going to put somebody new out on an island, and most of our engagements are not really one person anyway. They're
Okay.
we're doing large scale transformations, and you're going to be part of
With
a
the team.
team, and there's going to be people to support you.
So they can help you learn not just the process, but how things work within the company, get to know the other
Yes.
people. Okay.
Yep. And in our larger organizations that we work with, where we have big groupings of people,
Yeah.
then there's an onboarding at the client from our, so that they're onboarded onto what we're doing at the client.
Okay.
Here's this, statement of work. This is what we've signed up for. This is kind of our strategy. So they're getting it from both sides.
Okay. So one more question about this.
Yeah.
If you're trying to explain to somebody, and this is before I ask the question, kind of going towards the idea that we have all these open positions, we're trying to bring people in.
Right.
What is the pitch to somebody? Like, why come here as opposed to someplace else? What do you get if you come to work here?
Yeah. So I think, small companies are not for everyone.
Right.
So that I kind of have to figure out. Are you someone who's really going to be better in a large established
Like,
organization?
I was at a large for a couple of weeks. Like, I can't.
right.
I'm not that guy.
Right. But if you want to be at a place where there's actual personal touch, where the people who are leading the company know you,
Yeah.
they understand, where your strengths are, where your gaps are, where they want to be like all in trying to develop that, where we have a very specific, we have a very specific point of view when it comes to transformation.
Yeah.
And I think that that's powerful. So anyone who's coming to work with us, they either, they're all in.
Right.
They're coming to work for us because they believe in what we're doing. If they think we're going down the wrong path, people aren't going to get hired by us. So you have that, you just have a very, it's familial in a lot of ways. We care about people. We do a lot to give kind of that personal attention and make sure that people are taken care of.
Okay.
And I think it's also exciting that we are growing. So we've doubled in size in the past year and a half. And there's like an energy there, and there's a lot of, like right now specifically, there's a lot of places that people could kind of get into and grow.
Yeah.
There's different practices that we're trying to start. There's lots of different communities of practices now that people can get involved in.
And they're all driven by the people who want to do the thing.
Yes.
It's not like
Right.
mandated. Or
So you have a real voice, not just like a proverbial voice. Like you actually can make an impact and help evolve this company and make it a better place.
Yeah.
So
this is great. So if people want to get in touch with you and ask questions, what's the best way to do that?
you probably just via email.
Okay.
Rachel@leadingagile.com. Pretty
Cool.
easy.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you very
Thanks.
much, Rach. We'll
Good to
shake
see
hands.
you.
Keep watching all week. We're going to be doing more of these tonight during the networking event. So come check back between 6:30 and about 9 or 10 o'clock. We'll be doing a few more interviews, and we'll be doing them all the way through Thursday. Thanks a lot for watching.